But Jim, one last thing on Dynamite. Apparently, during this taping, off air, I have an image here. The AEW roster on their stage. Dynamite 200 in very colorful graphics. Thank you, Tony Khan. So a lot of the listeners have been sending this wanting to know your thoughts on AEW, specifically Tony Khan, producing a graphic that says, thank you, Tony Khan, so that the audience could celebrate Tony Khan. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, and the talent was out there, right? Like the memorial gimmick. Is that what you're saying?
They were paying their respects to their careers.
Because most of the talent looks like they're ready to be laid out and have words spoken over them. And somebody again on a number of people on Twitter and the internet brought this up. In the WWE, when they reach a big milestone, they are smart enough to brag about it by thanking the fans for it. Right? We made $1 billion at WrestleMania. Thank you, WWE Universe. So it shows how big their fucking throbbing, massive, erect dick is. But they're thanking the fans for the fluff job. They're bringing it, right? It's all because of you guys. No way we'd have got this hard without your finger in our taint.
In your taint?
In and around the taintal area. But with AEW, they have to keep the angel happy. They found an angel, as good old Bert Prentice would say, and they got to keep him happy. I'm not saying that Tony said, tonight's number 200, I want a big graphic that thanks me. Everybody else came up with it. All the production people that are making a living there because Tony Khan doesn't need to make money. And all the wrestlers that are making a living there because Tony Khan doesn't need to make money. They all, I'm sure, got together and said, hey, Tony, look what we're going to do. And Tony, because he's dreamed of this since he was but a wee little lad, just a wee little lad, wee-weeing in his own little bed, and then having Cadbury the butler come in and change the sheets. He's dreamed of this, and he wants the wrestlers to tell him that he books good, and he wants the wrestlers to tell him that they're his friends, and he wants the fans to tell him how much that they appreciate him bringing them the greatest wrestling they've ever seen. And also it's vindication that when he was writing for his two other friends, and believe me again, for the new folks, we're not making this up, this is from Tony, when he booked Dynamite when he was a teenager for his two other friends in the fantasy booking message board thingy, now he's getting these people to thank him for doing it for real. So instead of our 200th episode of Dynamite, thank you, AEW fans, for sticking with us all this time. Well, I guess that'd be a lie. They didn't stick with them. They've lost a few 100,000. But thank you to the fans, or thank you to the viewers, or giving the public hope that something may be worth a shit. They thank Tony Khan. Because that makes Tony happy. And when, as you know how Vince Sr. used to say, as goes the garden, goes the business? Well, now it's as goes Tony, goes the business. He's the only one that needs to be happy. He's the only one that needs to want it to continue. And it will, no matter what the fans or the other wrestlers or us or anybody else says about it. But there's a lot of, we're not just talking about wrestlers. Somebody sent, I think this was a combination Dynamite and Rampage taping, or Dynamite, whatever they do on the Wednesday nights. But somebody sent a video out on Twitter here, this was several weeks ago, of the AEW television, I guess, hotel parking lot, because they were at a hotel and they started panning the video, and they had literally a dozen 18-wheeler semi-trucks all painted with the AEW talent and the AEW logos and everything. So it's not like they contracted Allied van lines to fucking move their TV equipment. They've got a dozen fucking trucks, and they bring a dozen trucks full of shit to these NBA-sized arenas and set it all up, and the crew that takes, and the fucking time, and the expenditure, and the fucking effort to draw 2,500, 3,000 people in a 20,000-seat building, and to do a television show that, except on Wednesday nights, as we mentioned, has about the same number of viewers as a lot of our YouTube clips. And it's 100 and however many talents at last count on the roster. I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but as a former promoter and somewhat of a student of the industry for some time, the overhead and the expenditures and the cost of all of this has to be insane. It's not a business. It's a traveling goddamn Grateful Dead show where one guy's bankrolling everything and everybody's just along for the fucking ride.
Well, we shall see if Tony finds his pig pen. But Jim, what Tony can find when he gets home finally on his doorstep would be a box of awesome.
Okay. Leave it to me again, ladies and gentlemen, to turn this into a description that you will love. And you will, you always want awesomeness in your life, Brian. I think we can agree on that. You want some awesomeness. Yeah. But if you know the awesome that's coming at you, then sometimes it's not so awesome. But if the awesome comes at you when you least expect it, then it's even more awesome. And that's why it's always a pleasure, because you're having a bad day. And maybe you've got the creeping crud, the rockin' pneumonia, the boogie-woogie flu, and the life is just treating you unfairly. And then suddenly you look out there, and there's the mailman. And he's carrying a box, and it's from Bespoke Post, because it is your box of awesome. And you realize, see, that's me hitting my head. You realize, boom, it's the day that the box of awesome comes. And then you get in that box and it's so awesome. You tell the mailman all about it. Sometimes you beat the mailman up and take the rest of his mail to see if he's got another box of awesome. Because once this first box of awesome...
We don't do anything that is a federal offense. No, we do not.
Well, once this first box of awesome hits your veins, baby, you need another hit instantly. So if I were you, I'd snatch that mailman by the goozle pipe and rifle through his bag and see if he can give you another hit of awesome box.
That isn't going to happen. That isn't suggested. And this is metaphorical intravenous use.
Well, just if the mailman is bigger than you are, think twice about it. But folks, all you got to do to brighten up one of the days of your month, and then all you got to do is worry about the other 30 or 29 or 28 or 27, depending on the fucking month of the year. You go to boxofawesome.com. And then you look around at that site, you take their quiz, and because your answers are going to help them pick the right box of awesome to send you, because they want to know what you're interested in. They don't want to send you things you're not interested in. No, whoa, become that person. Because then you might just kick the mailman in the balls and tell him to shove that box because it's not awesome. They want to please you, because the mailman's health depends on them having satisfied customers. So, it's free to join, and they release new items every month across a ton of different categories. We've talked about, do you know what I just got here? And I actually, goddamn it, where's my card? I thought I had my card here with me. What do you got my card run down so low for, Ron? Well, I'll tell you what it was. 2 incredibly beautiful crystal cocktail glasses came in this box, along with a bourbon whiskey scented candle. Well, we're in Kentucky, and that's where they make this shit. Not the candles, but the bourbon whiskey. And some other cocktail items. And if I had the card, I'd tell the people what it was. But you got to go to boxofawesome.com to find out. And Stace put it right there on our bar area there, and and a cocktail book, a hardcover, limited edition book on various cocktails that with photographs and everything. Fine printing. What'd you get lately?
I got a kit to make my own fire, and I got portable campsite.
Well, if you ever become a contestant on Naked and Afraid, you're ahead of the game.
Well, I have a lot of property. I can go out in the woods behind me. I own them.
Make your own fire.
I can make my own fire, my own woods. What's better than that?
Ladies and gentlemen, in a world where Brian Last stars in his own movie, Quest for Fire, you can join boxofawesome.com. And when you become a member, folks, you're going to have access to stellar discounts across a plethora of products. Sometimes they take 30% off or more. I'm just telling you, as a heads up, you're sometimes going to get 30% off or more on some of these items. And with each Box of Awesome, you're supporting the small businesses we've mentioned. 90% of everything that comes in a Box of Awesome is from a small, up-and-coming brand that the folks at Bespoke Post have taken under their wing, relieved of their merchandise, and are now making a fortune on mom and pop's hard work. So if you want to contribute to the memory of these people that worked hard to establish these small mom and pop businesses so that then Box of Awesome could come along and expose them to the world and make all this money, but still give you a discount, then all you got to do is go to boxofawesome.com and enter the code JCE at checkout. You will get a free mystery gift with your first monthly shipment. A mystery gift. You don't know what it is till it comes. Then you open it up and you go, holy shit, they sent me one of these. That's what's going to happen. Boxofawesome.com. Enter the code JCE at checkout. Even though this is the drive-thru, Brian, it's your show, but it's my code. You remember the surprise packages? Are you old enough? Did they do that back then?
Did who do that?
Did they do surprise packages when you first went to the wrestling matches and you went to the souvenir stand and there was a surprise package? It was 5 8x10 photos for $1 inside a manila envelope.
No, WWF was not doing that at the Nassau Coliseum in the late 80s, early 90s.
Well, I'm telling you what, in 1974, it was a big deal. Because what Christine Jarrett would do is back then, before I started taking the pictures, they were all black and white 8x10s, right? And then people would leave the territory or whatever, these pictures would be laying around. So she would put 5 pictures of black and white 8x10s in a manila envelope and sell them for $1. Surprise packages. Get 5 pictures of many of your favorite wrestlers. And you'd get the midgets, the heels, and the girls. And people that had left the territory.
Do you have to throw in a good one every now and then? How are you going to get repeat business?
Every once in a while, you might. When Tommy Rich left the territory the first time and went to Georgia, you'd get Tommy Rich for about 3 months in the surprise packages.
And that was just him crashing into your house.
Well, that's true. But otherwise, it was just, girls, midgets, heels, and guys that had left the territory.
Well, none of those things are in the Box of Awesome, but you can get your own Box of Awesome delivered right to you. One more time, what's that promo code, Jim?
JCE is what that promo code is. Free mystery gift with your first monthly shipment of the fine Box of Awesome.
That's right. Get your mystery date with JCE and Box of Awesome.
Hey!
Hey, what?
Mystery date? Now, wait a minute.
Wasn't that your favorite game, you told me?
No, I liked Operation, except for that goddamn writer's cramp.
Did you have a favorite board game?
I used to. When I was a kid, I got the Disneyland game. And it's like when I'm 4 years old. And I remember playing that more than I ever played any other game for about 2 or 3 years from the time I was 4 or 5, 6, 7. And I still have the same Disneyland game in the box sitting in the bench in front of the window where I used to play in the floor with my mom when I was 7 years old. It's the exact same place. But then I went through a Clue phase, and I enjoyed playing the Clue. I liked Colonel Mustard. He was a friend of mine. But normally, you know, most board games, you play them every once in a while. But I played Monopoly, blah, 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 but nothing on a habitual basis for many, many years. But I liked Trivial Pursuit when it first came out.
Oh, that's fun. It's still good. It didn't change too much.
Well, but now if they do new trivia, I don't know anything trivial from the last 30 years.
Well, now they do different theme ones. You can get ones that are specifically about the 80s, ones that are about history, ones that are about a band or a show, whatever it may be.
Well, there you go then.
Well, there you go. And once again, the Box of Awesome, promo code JCE.
JCE. You ought to write it down, then you wouldn't have to ask me so often.
Well, people like to hear you say it. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.